Why do so many of us feel unfulfilled, even though we have everything society tells us we should want? We have typically financial and career success. We have a girlfriend or purposefully choose to be single, and we're typically in very decent physical shape. So, why do we feel unfulfilled? And to add some clarity to this, being unfulfilled is not something that I would have said about myself just a year ago. However, the reality is that I felt somewhat content with what I had. I was like, yeah, my life is good, but I felt like something was missing. And that is probably the best way I can describe it. If someone had asked me, I would have said, yeah, my life is amazing, but I didn't really have a bigger purpose, a longer distance, broader goal. I was just doing the same thing for the past couple of years, which in my case was working as a lawyer, going out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to meet girls and potentially go to the gym whenever I could manage to do it, usually 3 to 4 days per week. Now, what does personal development in general tell us how to fix this feeling of unfulfillment? General personal development knowledge tends to say that there are certain pillars to success, to the feeling of fulfillment and happiness. And depending on which guru you ask, it's either the 7 pillars of wellness, you know, financial, nutrition, movement, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, or it's health, wealth, love, and happiness. The 4 pillars is here, or the 7 pillars of self care. There are all of these different principles, and then different gurus will tell you that if you achieve fulfillment in all of them, then you will be happy and fulfilled. Now, I can only speak about myself, but I believe that there are a few things that we can do in day to day life that will lead to a fulfilled life. That is, in general, wealth, health, fitness, love. And if we do these 4 and have some broader goal in which we can find fulfillment, then we will typically find happiness. Now, the problem is not whether this interpretation is correct. It could be wrong, and maybe there's different other pillars here that are relevant, or I might be correct with my assessment, which I'm going to delve deeper in a second. But the big point is that most of us, if we're very career driven, if we're very focused on our success, yes, we do all of these other things. We go to the gym, we maybe try to eat decently healthy and live a decently healthy lifestyle, even though we tend to prioritize work over sleep and still are okay with the stress. And maybe we're single by choice. But the thing is that what we do is we prioritize wealth creation or the pursuit of our career, the pursuit in the end of money, because we need the money to live our lifestyle, to go to the gym, travel, meet girls, party, have dinners with friends, etc. And because of that, we tend to over prioritize wealth. Even if we say that wealth is not our priority, money is not our priority, we do, most of us, high performers, if we call it ourselves, that I don't like the term, but let's just say that we prioritize wealth. Now, we all heard this thing before: money doesn't buy you happiness. Money can't buy happiness, but it's better to cry in a Lamborghini than on a bicycle, right? And in my case, that was always true. I was always thinking, well, I need money. And I'm not going to tell you that money is not important, that wealth is not important. That's not at all where I'm going to with this. However, the problem is that if we focus a lot on our career, on our business, on the money creation, what tends to happen is that we are kind of running in circles. And this is this picture, this beautifully created AI picture here of this guy, a very attractive, decently in shape guy, but he's stressed. And as you can see, he feels kind of lost. And that is pretty much the feeling that I had when I was feeling last year like I'm sort of running in circles. And the problem with that is if that continues, you will soon look more like this, because you will tend to keep prioritizing money and you grow older. So your priorities, sorry, your responsibilities will increase. You will need more money. You will be more stuck in that job. And essentially, it will get worse and worse until you might end up this guy, career wise successful, financially successful, certainly. However, is this guy happy and fulfilled? Just from looking at the picture, I would say that is a clear no. So the big question is, what is our vision? And for me, the vision would rather be a guy that is maybe, maybe financially less successful, but is extremely happy, feels fulfilled, has amazing relationships in his life, knows exactly what he wants, and lives in alignment with his own priorities, with his own purpose, and his own values. Now, where does this arrow lead me? What do you think? It leads us all back to this, right? So, my main goal, and I believe that it should be a vision for everybody in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. We tend to think in these 3 to 5 year goals, but what we should actually do is have a vision of where we are going by 55. What is our goal for our life? And it could even be 50, could even be 65. But you should have this goal of where your life is headed. Who do you want to become as a mature man? What is the path you want to look back onto? What are the connections you want to look back to? And what are the people you want to have in your life? Now that brings me back to these pillars, because I believe that in order to achieve this level of fulfillment and happiness and be that guy at 55 who is happy, fulfilled, has great connections, and is in a financially sufficiently fulfilling and decent situation, you need to take care of all these pillars equally. And of course, you might have to prioritize wealth, career, your business over everything else for a certain amount of time. But even then, you should try to make time for your health, sleep sufficiently, eat as clean as possible, schedule in some exercise, schedule in downtime, days off, hours where your phones are turned off. Yeah, I know it's a lot of woo woo, but that is just the general idea. Now, how do you get to that vision of yourself? Because the big thing is, if you don't have a vision for yourself at 55, it will be extremely difficult for you to prioritize the things that are important to achieve that vision. So, step one, be very clear of where you are right now. Is your situation a balanced, fulfilled, and happy life? Or are you feeling a little more like this guy who has everything in his life that he wanted, but he feels kind of chased? There's not really something in front of him that he's trying to achieve, but there's more, just more of the same that he's trying to maintain. Be very honest with yourself. Analyze your current situation. And here are a couple of questions that you can ask yourself. Number one, have you been feeling extremely excited in the past few months? Were you excited to wake up in the morning? How often do you worry about things that might happen in the future? Are you a person that is more driven by the worries of things to come, or are you driven by faith into your ability to create the future that you want? And then, once you analyzed your current situation, I want you to craft a vision. Ask yourself, who do you want to be at 55? Or if you're already in your 40s, ask yourself, who do you want to be at 65? And make this vision as specific as possible. Where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? What time are you waking up? What are the people in your life? Who are they? Family? Is there a girlfriend, wife? Are there kids? Is there maybe, if you already have kids and you're divorced or you separate from your girlfriend, is there a new person in your life? How are the relationships with your parents? How are the relationships with your siblings? How are the relationships to your friends? Which city do you live in? What does the house look like? What's the view from the bedroom window? If you like to cook, how does your kitchen look like? And craft this vision. Make it as fucking specific as you can. This is one of the most important things in your life. Creating this specific vision. Okay, now I need to get rid of this. Perfect. That said, what you need to do then, so you've analyzed your situation, you've crafted a vision, and the most important step is having an honest conversation with yourself about what you need to change in your life right now to get from where you are to where you want to be. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if your outcome of your analysis is that, hey, if I keep going exactly the way I am right now, then I will achieve exactly my vision. If that is your answer, if that is the outcome, then congrats, because that means that you are exactly on the path that you should be on. You don't need to change anything. And honestly, if that is your outcome, that is great. But I also believe that if that is your outcome, you would not be in the situation to watch this video. Now, if your outcome of your analysis is that, well, if I continue down the path that I'm on right now, then I will achieve a different goal. And that goal is still okay. Then I want you, if your outcome really is this goal that I will achieve, if I continue going down my path, this person that I'm becoming by 55, by 65, whatever it is, I am happy with that. Ask yourself how important it would be to achieve this perfect dream vision here compared to this alternative one that you're going to achieve if you continue down your path. You need to compare these two visions. And if your honest assessment again is that the vision that you're going, the goal you're going to achieve, if you continue down your path, if you're completely happy and satisfied with that, by all means, continue going down your path. But if you come to the honest assessment that by continuing down your path, you will reach a situation that you're not satisfied with, then you need to change something in your life. And in my case, I wrote down my specific vision. I was extremely unrealistic with it, but I wrote down my ideal scenario, what it would look like, where I would live, who I would be with, who the people in my life are, and what quality the relationships were. And it's so specific that I could visualize it. Now, the goal that I would achieve if I had continued down the path that I was on last year wouldn't have been too bad either. But if I had achieved that, I would always have felt like I might have missed out on something. And by admitting that to myself, I realized that I needed to make a change. So the question is, how can you make that change? The important thing is to focus on one pillar at a time. If you feel like your health, your fitness, or your relationships are not where they should be right now and you're not satisfied with one of them, ask yourself which one has the highest priority. And it should typically be your health, your fitness, and it might have been your wealth creation for a while. But if you feel like you've neglected the other ones and you're in your 30s or even later and your health is not great, or your body is not fit, or you're not happy because you're single, then you need to be honest with yourself, because it's most likely not going to get better from here. So you need to ask yourself what needs to change, and then you need to prioritize that. If you're a guy that is very successful but has issues meeting the type of women that he wants to meet, then it might make sense to assess why that is. If you're a guy and you feel like your fitness is not where it should be, believe me, it's not getting better. This is not me telling you this. This is modern science. So the earlier you get on the fitness track, the earlier you work on having an amazing body, the earlier you start working on your fitness, the better it's going to be later. Now, the problem again is that you most likely can only prioritize one thing. What do I mean by that? Now, of course, I don't mean you should quit your job and only focus on fitness, or you should sell your business and only focus on business. By prioritize, what I mean is that typically when you wake up in the morning, there is one thing in the day that is a non negotiable. Yes, you might have to go to the office and crank out 12 hours of work, but if your main priority is your gym session to get fit, then you will have to prioritize that over anything else. And if you schedule that in for an hour, 30 minutes in the evening, or even just an hour, or even just 30 minutes, but you make it non negotiable in the sense of you will go there, and if you have to, you cancel plans with other people. You have it in your calendar and you don't schedule anything else on there. And then you do that for the next 3 months and have this goal of getting fit, becoming the guy that will still be fit in his 50s. And as a last step, the fifth step, you constantly feed the feedback loop. Ask yourself where you're at in terms of these pillars: fitness, health, wealth, love. And yes, I know there is the whole spirituality part that I didn't point on here because I believe, I might be wrong, but that is my opinion. If you are doing a good job at these and do something that you find fulfillment in, you will be happy without thinking too much about spirituality. But spirituality can be a part of it. That said, that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, as usually, hit me up in the comments or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video.